Welcome back to the Garden State Outdoors and Podcast presented by Boondocks Hunting. I'm your host, Mike Nature, and today we have Mike Yoder from Drone Deer Recovery. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure having you on because a big part is where has all this drone lifestyle kind of come from? Like it feels like in the last couple of years, drones have just gotten really popular, and now you have drone recovery in, especially in states where of course you're legally allowed to do it and everything like that. But what has been with this whole avenue of drones?
Yeah. So, obviously, when we say in the last couple of years, that's when we really started noticing a ton of drones being used to do deer recovery specifically. And I think some of that comes from just the content going out and people seeing it, and then encouraging people to have the same sort of business as we do here at Drone Deer Recovery. And so I think that's what you're referring
Yeah,
to as just all of this that we now see. Um, it is because of me probably sharing a lot of my stuff on YouTube.
yeah, I would definitely have to agree. And before we start really doing a deep dive into everything, Mike, why don't you give a quick background on who you are and everything that you've done or accomplished so far?
Okay, yeah. My name is Mike Yoder. I'm the founder of Drone Deer Recovery. It is it really started out just me, myself, and I filming myself taking a thermal drone out and helping hunters recover lost game that otherwise would go to waste. So instead of using the traditional dog tracking method, we use thermal imaging drones with a 200 times zoom camera on it. And so when I see a heat signature, something that glows hot, I will zoom in on it and see if it's a carcass or if it's the deer they hit or not. And me sharing content has gotten us to where we are right now with substantial growth and continuing growth in other drone avenues as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think before I even found you on Instagram, I believe I saw one of your YouTube videos, and I think it was the big giant drone that you have and everything like that. I think you're hauling away a deer or something like that with the drone, I believe. And that's where all of a sudden I saw that page, and I found you on Instagram and everything like that. And I think I ran into you at the Great American Outdoor Show this year as well. And just I think personally, and I imagine a lot of hunters agree, I think it is our duty and to the animal to give it our best absolute shot at
Yeah.
finding every animal that we hunt and that we shoot at. So I think this takes it to obviously a whole nother level and is able to hunters be even more successful or be able to know when to maybe back out, maybe to all right, maybe this deer isn't dead yet or anything like that. Or find it where they're very tricky animals to
Yeah.
find. So I think that this is a excellent tool, and hopefully the rest of the states can start doing something like this as well. Because correct me or not, is it I imagine you have to be very careful because I know, like at least in New Jersey, we're not allowed to use drones to hunt. Um, but it's that fine line where I believe you can use it to locate a deer, but it's very iffy in the laws and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that in most states because of the new technology. They're using old laws that were passed, way back in the day, long before this technology ever existed, and so, yeah, most states do not allow an aircraft in the aid of a hunt. But really, what we have to figure out is what is the definition of hunting, because it's not really clear of what is the definition of hunting. I mean, if you look it up just by googling it, or maybe reading your generic local laws, it's going to say to pursue to want to kill or something like that. But really, if you don't have a weapon, then how could you be hunting? And so these laws that were written, and uh, certain states or certain wardens might want to enforce something that, they have their own opinion on if it should be used or not. And so it just makes it to be a really gray area of, can you use it to recover a carcass? Because some states tell you recovering a carcass is still part of the hunt. And so that's what we're going back and forth with.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, and it's we always want to steer that line, and as much as I believe in it, if you can't use it, you can't use it. But if you can, listen, all means, go use it. And I imagine there was a point using dogs too, where probably and still maybe are in certain states such a fine line too, and it has a gray area as well, is to use dogs and in that matter of fact
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about the dog stuff, like how it was back in the day, but
Yeah,
I'd imagine that, they dealt with some of the same type of pushback, that we are getting with, this, high tech thermal drones.
yeah. Um, so Mike, where did you really start off before you even got into the drone deer recovery? Where did you start your love for, I guess, drones, or when did you start using the technology of flying drones? Is that something that you've been doing for a while, or you just got the idea and just started running with it?
Well, the idea came from, really me being at the lowest point of my life that I was in at the time. I injured my back. I had a residential hazardous tree removal business, and I I had a L4 L5 herniated disc, and I was in a lot of pain and started drinking more than I should have been. And in my own terms, I felt like I was an alcoholic, and I was like, "What am I doing with my life?" Like, I have a business, I have a family, I have a house. I've done more for myself than I ever have up to that point as far as dollars go, and I was feeling down one night, and Jarrett Scheffler from Whitetail Adrenaline called me, and he had just come through something that was, not good as well. And he encouraged me to go out and do something that I want to do and not just be focused on the business all the time. And so I started praying to the Lord. I was like, Lord, give me something new, something that motivates me, something that gives me, give me a vision to really get my mind off of all the things that I'm dealing with right now. And so I've always liked RC. Like, I've always flown little RC airplanes, um, and drones. So I've used small drones to do like video and pictures and that type of stuff, but never invested thousands of dollars into good technology. And so I've liked the idea of it, and I was praying and really trying to figure out what else can I do other than what I was doing with trees and that type of thing. And so I was talking to a friend of mine one day after I had started, going through that, and I told him I'm thinking about getting a drone to do deer recovery, and he's like, "Oh, I think it'd be a great idea." And just him saying that motivated me enough to go invest $8,000 in a baby drone. And when I did that, I went out and I made a video or a video of me finding deer, and took that video to a outdoor show, which was a local outdoor show. And my booth, which was just a white table with a black tablecloth over it and a old computer, um, to show this video, my booth was the talked about booth at that show. And so I was like, okay, this is $8,000. This is a baby drone. Like, if I invest in the really good stuff, like, this is going to go wild, just because of the feedback that the sportsman had given me at that time at that show. And so the next season, that was tail end of the season. The next season, I went and I invested in the Matrice 30T. Uh, at that time, my whole kit cost $22,000, And yeah, I was like, I'm gonna do a specific business, a niche business, just really focusing on helping hunters locate or recover lost game. And in the process of doing that, I said that I'm also going to create content around it because nobody else was showing anything like it, and I knew I was stepping into the gray area. And what will the whole hunting community say about it? Some people are against this, other people aren't, and that's really what helped me is people being like, no, I don't think we should use it. And that just that talk started pushing the content out there to
Yeah.
tens and millions of people.
Yeah. You know, before we dive more into that too as well, I just want to say, is it actually called a baby drone, or is that just like a nickname?
Yeah, that's just my nickname for any drone that's not the Matrice 30T.
Okay. So
Yep.
explain real quick about the baby drone and the differences that you have, because obviously it sounds like even though it costs what it costs, that still is the the model that you're not really looking to shoot with, or doesn't have the same capabilities as some of the bigger models. um so can you explain exactly what is in the baby drone, what it can do versus something else that you're looking at, which you wanted to go with after?
Yeah, so the baby drone is usually referred to a Mavic 3T or like an Autel drone. And the reason I call them baby drones is it's a small step into better technology. So a baby drone gives you good fundamentals and gives you a little bit of the taste of what you get with a Matrice 30T. But so a baby drone can't fly in rain. A baby drone only has 50x zoom. It doesn't have defogging capabilities. It There's a lot of places where it falls short to be able to fly in that bad weather when you should be flying a drone. So a lot of guys that have already bought the Matrice 30T, the drone deer recovery kit from us, have been called out to local police stations that have baby drones, and they couldn't fly because it was raining. And raining in a rainstorm, those are good
Yeah.
times to be out to look for thermal. And so the reason I call it a baby drone is it's really just it's a small, really small drone that is a step into where you probably are wanting to go. And I hear it all the time of guys buying these little drones just like I did, and I get it. They buy these little drones thinking they're gonna have the same type of experience as they do watching my content on YouTube, and then later find out that they do not have the same experience, and then move on and buying the really good drone, and then tell me like, holy smokes, Mike, like we did not realize like how good this actually is. And I get pushback from the baby drone pilots because they think I'm just bashing their equipment. It's not that I'm doing that at all. I'm just saying, like, I get why you guys want to buy this, but once you get your hands on it, like a really good drone like the Matrice 30T, you will then understand like what I'm talking about.
Okay, gotcha. So not, and like you said, you're not talking bad about it, but it's basically it's used for what it's used for. But if you're looking for the all purpose to be able to fly in, the worst of not the worst of the worst, but the bad weather, the foggy weather, the rain, everything like that, you might as well take that next step and
Yeah, yeah,
purchase. So you could easily say it's kind of like the hunting debate of fixed blades versus mechanicals, or why you should wear, you know go with Hoyt or Matthews versus something else, and kind of in a way.
yeah. I don't know that I can speak on like one broadhead over the other based on mechanical and fixed, but it's bigger than that because imagine that there's now been millions of people that have seen drone deer recovery footage.
Hmm.
And now there's a guy that's like, hey, I want to get a guy out that find my deer like drone deer recovery does. And then the guy comes out with this little tiny drone and it's raining and he tells him, I can't fly because it's raining. And he tries to zoom in on the deer and he's got a 50x zoom and he's at 350 feet and you can't see anything because it's not big enough. That's my biggest thing, is to let people now know that
Yeah.
there is a huge difference from just anybody's little drone that they want to come out and try to help, find your deer for you.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I got you. I got you now. Um, so you take that next step. You go move away from the baby drone and you get the next one. Where when you're coming up with the business and everything like that, what are your first steps after that? Like, you know, what I don't know what it's like in Ohio when you come up with the business or everything like that. I imagine it's probably the same steps as it is here in New Jersey. But what was the next step after the show, after you started doing everything and you got your drone, your main drone? What happened after that?
Oh, obviously, it was building a very professional website. As I'm launching the business, I want a professional looking website, and so I launched that website at the same time as I'm launching the business. The business really kicked off the opening day, literally the opening day of the Ohio archery season. I was getting phone calls. Unfortunately, I was in Colorado at the time on an elk hunt, and
Yeah.
so I couldn't even take those calls. My business launched, and I wasn't even in the state. As much sense as that made no sense. But it gave me hope, right? It gave me like motivation when I was out there. I was like, wow, this is actually going to
Yeah.
work. And so coming back home, um, having that website ready to go, and then starting to create that content and knowing that I am going to create content and push it out there. And as soon as I put some of those videos out, and thankfully one of my first big recoveries was a 200-inch giant Ohio whitetail that it was called out on. And this guy that called me out to try to locate this buck
Yeah.
for him also had a tracking dog, but he refused to put his tracking dog on this deer that he shot because he wasn't 1,000% sure that it
Okay.
was dead. And he just knew if he puts his tracking dog on it and he bumps this deer once, he's gone, like, because
Hmm.
he's been watching this deer for many years, and so he didn't want to do that. And so creating that content at the time, Kevin, my now business partner, was not my business partner at the time. He was just a cameraman and also built my website. I was telling him that what we are about to film will get hundreds of thousands of views, and this could really push it over top. And I wasn't wrong on that. It definitely did 100,000 views. And so, yeah, I don't know. Pushing that content is really what, pushed us over the top.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, that when you're driving out to something like that, what was going through your head before you even got there? This is your first big opportunity. This is your first client, correct? Was
Yeah,
a
you know,
200-inch whitetail deer. Like, what was going through your head as from you got the phone call to you getting there?
yeah. So it was he shot him in the morning, and the sun came up and it was bright out. The sun was brightly shining, and he called me and he was like, "Hey, we want you to show up at 3 p.m. That's when we're going to go after him." And I started being concerned. I was like, "Oh no!" Like, because the sun is out, and I
Yeah.
know that the sun being out is not good. But it's my first call. It's a big deer. He wants the technology to help him, and I was like, I tried educating him. I was like, I don't know how well this is going to work. Now know that I was new, and I hoped that it would work. And I just tried telling him, like, I don't know how well it's going to work, but I'll definitely try. And so I went out there at 3 p.m. Sun's out, brightly shining, and I'm like, this is no good. Like, this is bad. Like, I can't see any heat signatures. I was showing
Yeah.
him deer that were laying in a big CRP field that were not showing up, and they should have been showing up, but because the sun
Mhm.
was out, they weren't
Yeah.
showing up. And so I told him, like just give me some time, let the sun go down, and then I will come back, and I think I will find your buck for you. And so that's what we did. We said we're calling it off and we're waiting until the sun goes down. I left the place and I tried going and eating dinner with my wife, and I was so nervous. So many things were going through my mind. Like, they're relying on me. They believe that technology could work if it's in the right hands, and I was so nervous I couldn't even eat that night. And went back out to that location, and thankfully I was able to locate his buck. And good for him that he did not put his dog on it, because he ended up wounding him like a flesh wound. And so we were able to see that. And if he would have put his dog on him, who knows what would have happened, if he would have ever got
Yeah.
another opportunity. But using the drone, we could see that the deer is going to make it. And so that's how we left it. Is like, there he is, but maybe you'll get another opportunity.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, I think it was like 10 or 14 days later, he did get another opportunity at that buck and was able to kill him.
That's that's as good as you're gonna get. That's like a perfect, scenario. But it's got to be so, like you said, it's so nerve wracking. You
Yep.
can't really eat. This is your first experience, and knowing what it's like, hey, like, I gotta go out there at three
Yep.
o'clock. But what do we don't know what this could make or break some things. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He could have easily been like, oh no, like maybe after you showed up and you was like, oh, I don't want to do this, and he would have used the dog. And thank God, like you said, he didn't, because you guys were able to find out the key information that you needed to
Yep.
do. But
Yep.
now looking at it, and now with your experience, what is the first thing that you're asking your clients about? Like, are you asking, hey, was the shot good? What are you kind of asking before you even get
Yeah,
to location?
I'm collecting as much data as I can. Shot placement. Where do you think you hit the deer? What type of broadhead were you using? Did you get a pass through? Was the arrow stuck in him? Did the arrow fly out? Did you recover the arrow? How much of the arrow did you recover? If some broke off, those types of things. And that's really just me collecting data in my mind to be able to figure out what the chances are of that being close by, and those type of things. And I might ask them, how far did you track the deer? um, what how far did the blood go, or did you track them just based on physical tracks actually in the ground? And so those types of things, it helps me for the next client that will call me with a similar type of situation. And so then I can educate them on what the potential outcome might be.
Okay, makes sense. And you stated, when you're looking at broadhead, something from what you've noticed. I like to ask butchers this. I like to ask dog trackers this. Usually when they're going to give you one or the other, right? What have you noticed? What animals do you usually have the highest success rate at? Or not animals, but which broadhead do you usually have the highest success rate at recovering that deer?
Recovering meaning dead or finding? Because recovering and finding are two different things for the drone space. Because uh, you know dogs only got credit for when they actually
Well,
found the
yes.
deer
Yeah.
dead. Like,
Yeah.
the dog has a hard time to show you the deer while he's still alive. So
Yeah.
for us, we have two different type of records. We have deer that we found that were 100% dead, and then other deer that were still alive, but we could, you know, check out the wound. Like, where is this actual hit on the deer? You thought you hit him here, but now after using this 200 times zoom camera and zooming in on the actual wound and checking it out, you actually ended up hitting it back further, a little higher, a little further down, or whatever the
Yeah.
case might be. So it's it's not based on broadheads, how many, let's say fixed blade, like how
Hmm.
many deer were shot with a fixed blade and found dead, or how many deer were shot with a mechanical and found dead. That doesn't really, I don't really collect that data and be
Okay.
like,
Gotcha.
this many were fixed blade were dead and this many weren't.
Okay. Gotcha. Makes sense. Then which is so it just blows my mind that you're, and it makes sense with technology the way it is, like that you're able to see the wound and everything like that, and that's such key data into finding out what the hunter should do to the next, what he should do next. But um, have you had anything that stumped you where you couldn't find the deer? Does that happen like very often? I imagine it still can, maybe in thicker woods or something like that.
Oh, there's definitely deer I don't find. What stumps me about why can't I find those deer is is how far away did they go? Like, because the client might tell me they have this type of shot, and my thing is like, if you have this hit on this deer, like you tell me, then it's just not making sense in my brain that he would have
Hmm.
gone this far. And so that's what bothers me the most is leaving those recoveries or those attempts
Yeah.
and not having any data of where their deer is. Now I it feels like I found every other deer in their neighboring area, but I could not find their buck. And so those are the ones that really get me, like, where did this buck run to? And but it's just something you got to deal with. It literally, I have yet to figure it out
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
it's like this. That some deer literally just go further than others, but I do know that we will find oftentimes in the rut, the bucks will just have so much adrenaline going on and
Yeah.
so much rut that they just keep going. It even if you have a really decent shot, it just feels like they go a whole lot further than they would if it's early season or late season where they run 200-300 yards and bed up and try to start healing up. Where those deer in the rut, they will go for a long way.
Yeah. What is the longest track or recovery that you've had to do so far?
My longest one, I think, was like a mile and then maybe a quarter, like a mile and a quarter. But I do know other guys that have found them further away than that.
Hmm.
But oftentimes, when you find them farther away than that, uh, they will still be alive, unless, of course, they got pushed for some reason
Yeah. Yeah.
that pushed them that far during that time of being pushed, then they bled out. Because
Hmm.
yeah, I hear people say all the time, no, we find deer, all the time over a mile away. Yeah, but why did the deer go that mile and then die? Is it
Yeah.
because he was being pushed? Or did he run that whole mile, the first hour, nobody's after him, right? The whole mile in that first hour and then lay down that far away? Highly
Yeah. It
unlikely,
doesn't.
but I can't say with 100% certainty.
Yeah. You can't ever say without, but like
Yeah,
it's not very reasonable.
yeah, yep,
you know
exactly.
um and that really that tells you the battery life on these drones. I mean, what are we looking at here? Because I can't even, and I know it's not the same thing, but man, I can't even get my GoPro to go 5 minutes in the cold weather and everything like that. So the
Yeah.
battery life on these drones, I mean, you went from what's it like with the baby drone to the next step.
So the biggest thing with the battery life is not just how long does it last, but how many batteries do you have and what type of charger do you have to
Okay.
charge them fast enough to fly all day. But these batteries here, what I tell people is in great conditions, from 100% battery power to 0% battery power, you could probably fly for about 40 minutes. But you don't want to fly from 100 to zero. Usually we want to do from 100 to 20%. And you're looking at realistically probably about 30 to 35 minutes of flight time, closer to the 30-minute mark, depending on wind. How much wind are you fighting? How much is the drone having to use extra power just to stay in hover or whatever it might be? So,
Yeah.
but for the most part, the specs might tell you 40-minute flight time. Well, that ain't always the case. Could you fly for 40 minutes? You probably could if you absolutely want to push the boundaries, but Not a good idea.
Yeah, no, no, especially when something that that costs so much money,
Yeah,
you don't want it to crash, somewhere into a pond or lake
yeah.
or whatever you're doing, or into the woods. I actually was out for 6-day gun season. It was like the end of it, and we were hunting this just spot that we only hunt during the 6-day gun season. And I set up in this hedgerow, and I'm getting all set in and everything like that. And I looked to my right, and there was a down drone, just literally just right there,
What?
and it's right in the thick stuff and everything like that. And I was like, wow, like what are the chances? I guess someone early in the year came out where they're either flying got too close, or they ran out of batteries and just were never
Yeah,
able to find it. But
yeah.
it was right there. It was all busted up and everything like that. So
Huh.
gosh knows what happened to it. But you always hear that horror story of people running out of batteries, and it
Yeah.
just come crashing down and everything like that, and going into to ponds or water, or and stuff like that. So it's got to be nerve wracking. Where when you first started this, were you ever nervous about that? Like, what was your adjustment period learning about, okay, I can fly to 20%, basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, obviously, the more you operate something, the more comfortable you get.
Yeah.
But with aviation, with something like this, you can't become complacent. You become complacent, it will catch up with you at some point, and you will have a drone go down. But it certainly, like in the beginning, like yeah, I was concerned. Like my drone was, we're gonna run out of battery and it's gonna go down in the trees. I mean, there's literally nights that I would wake up in my sleep and think like, oh my gosh, my drone's like too far away or whatever. And so it was a concern, but the more you do it, once you got hundreds, even I don't know if I'm over 1,000 hours now, but once you have so many hours, you know the limits, you know the wind, you know the direction that the wind's blowing, how far out you are, how much battery is gonna use to get back, and those types of things.
How has there been any horror stories for you? Anything that you want to tell? Is there been anything where you've crashed it, or anything like that yet so far? Hopefully you haven't, but throughout this time, especially in the beginning, anything like that?
Yeah, I've never trashed my thermal drone. I've always, if I had to ditch my drone, and I've only ever had to do it once, where I was watching a group of elk that we were trying to capture again and put them into their high fence, and I needed to stay in the area for a little longer to keep eyes on him. And I pushed the limits and I started coming back, and it was, yeah, it was miscalculated, and the drone started landing at 5%. The drone's coming down. It doesn't matter how far away it is from
Hmm.
home; it's coming down. And so, but with the training of me flying airplanes and stuff, the first thing you do is figure out where you're going to land. So start scanning, and so basically, most of my flying is done at night, so I can't really see. I can see in thermal, so I look in thermal, make sure there's no trees around, looks like an open field. Now I go back to my satellite image on my controller, quickly zoom in on satellite image. Looks like this should be a good area to bring it down. And as I do so, I put it in an area where it's not around houses, not around people, just out in a field, and the drone will just slowly come down, and it ended up landing out there on its own. But yeah, that's the only one that I had that I didn't make it back. I mean, there's multiple times when I was right on the edge, but yeah, never crashed a drone. I had it fall off of the hood of my truck. Uh, I I was flying in the rain. I was sitting in the truck, and I was just complacency. Yep, and I landed it on the hood and didn't realize that the truck was slightly on a slope. And when
Yeah.
it did come down, it just kind of slowly scooted off. And I'm looking at it like on the inside, like, oh shit, like walked out, and both arms were broke off because the drone weighs about 8 pounds, and so when it went back and landed on
Yeah.
its arms, those arms just buckled forward. But
Oh man, that's
yeah,
that's
not
that's
good. Yeah,
No,
not good.
not at all. But you know that experience of you said of flying, which is so yet again now we've recorded 2 episodes today, and we have someone that is the one that we did earlier. He's actually in aviation school right now, so he's learning about fly. He's flying and everything like that. So it's
Okay.
2 back to back where we have someone that was basically flew aircraft. So what did you do when? How did you learn the flying of the aircraft? What school did you go to? What was that kind of background? And then you could obviously it helps you so much in what you do now.
I just hired a private instructor, a
Oh,
CFI, certified flight instructor at my local airport here. Bought an airplane and then just hired the private instructor to come out and yeah, go flying with me. And the stuff that they're taught as CFIs is to get you in situations where they put you in a situation where your brain remembers about the situation to have you think about that when it happens in real life. And so um for instance, like engine out training, like you'll be flying along and he just goes over and rips the throttle out. Oh, you just lost the engine. Like, what are you going to do? And so, what are the procedures? Well, first go through your checklist. Is my mixture on both mags, gas full, different, um, you know, try the different tanks. There's so many things that go through
yeah,
your mind, and and so that helps me with drones. It's like when something isn't going right, I start thinking of the checklist, like, you know, wind direction, how far away am I? Let's start thinking about ditching this. And if we are ditching it here, is it going to come down softly? Could somebody walk into it while it's coming down? I think of those things while it's going probably because of my, aviation training.
yeah, yeah. Wow, that's first of all, I don't know how I would be. I couldn't do it. Wouldn't be able to do it. If someone just ripped and flying is my like I just got back from England and my first I've flown I think 11 times and this was the most relaxed and most comfortable I've been going to and from, right?
Wow.
And I'm not going to say I am a flyer, but I mean I to learn how to fly, especially I've thought about it, but now that you said that that's what the guy did to you, I don't know about that. And but it
Yeah.
makes sense because you have to
Yeah.
learn. Like it
Yeah.
is a 100%. You have to
Yep.
learn all these things because gosh forbid if something does happen,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
I
wouldn't be able.
would be more scared not knowing about it. Like,
Yeah,
so, for instance, like learning how to land an airplane in crosswinds, like learning to land where the wind isn't directly down the runway,
yeah,
where you have to like literally like crab your airplane into the runway
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah,
kick it forward. Like, so if I were never in that situation and I'm flying somewhere, say I'm wanting to go to, I don't know, Oklahoma, and I've only flown in Ohio in fair weather conditions, and I get to Oklahoma, and the runway I chose is the wind for it is exactly the opposite, and so not if you've never been in a situation, how you're going to get yourself out of it. I would much rather train in those
yeah.
scenarios and then be ready for them if they ever do happen.
100% agreed. 100% agreed. Um, you know, you've gone from drone recovery or deer recovery. I know the last time that we talked, I think you were starting up something new as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. I
You know,
can't remember exactly what it was that you told me you were doing.
yeah. Yeah. So what we do currently and this time of the season, the company is called New Way Ag, spelled NUWAYAG. New Way Ag. We use large spray drones. So these drones are about 12 feet across, and they have a 10.5 gallon tank in them. And we use those spray drones to spray row crops, so corn, beans, specialty crops, pasture fields, those types of things, instead of the traditional ground rig sprayers or the
Mhm.
aerial airplane or helicopter. These drones now have the technology built into them to do it autonomously. You tell it where to go, how fast to fly, how high to fly, how many gallons per acre to do, and these drones go out and get it done all by themselves. And so that's what we're doing is we spray fields. we sell drones, we train people to do the same thing, we manufacture trailers. It's been nuts.
No wonder why you're so busy. Oh my God.
Yep.
That well, man, talk about that a little bit. Like the technology is so just amazing and just like, but when you're doing that, you're it seems like it's taking farming to a whole basically new level, and it makes everything just more efficient. So are the farmers or whoever is managing the land, they are contact you guys, and so you guys can do this, and I imagine it frees up a lot of more time for them to do other
Yeah.
things to work on the farm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, farmers do hire us to spray their crops, but the really big one is like co-ops and chemical retail companies. A
Mhm.
chemical retail company can't sell chemical to a farmer unless there's some way to apply it. And if the farmer can't apply it, then they have to get an airplane or a helicopter or something like that. Well, those have been a little bit hard to be super reliable because of they travel a lot, like aerial
Yeah.
application. But now you can have a smaller cost up front to get this equipment. So there's more custom applicators with drones in areas where now can have aerial application done. And so farmers will buy some of their own equipment, but a lot of people are just being custom spray applicators and will, work with those farmers, work with those co-ops and that type of stuff to help them uh, get their crops sprayed.
Wow. That's very impressive. What how else can the technology grow? Like where else do you see it going from the next 5 years?
Uh, in the crop spraying sector, or like just in
Every Just in
general?
general and just drones in general.
Yeah. So I think the next big thing that's coming is heavy lift drones. Drones that are able to lift heavy things. Right now, we are capable of lifting at max about 130 pounds with a heavy lift drone, like the flight
Mhm.
cart that I have currently.
Yeah.
But I see that being, someday being able to do maybe 1,000 pounds. And
Mhm.
when we get to that point, there's so many things that this will be used for to replace cranes. It could be used for delivery service if you get
Yeah.
beyond line of sight exemptions from the FAA, those type of things. We might think that there's no way. There's just no way that drones are ever going to deliver things and this and that, and it's just not true. Like
No.
10 years ago, if you would have asked a farmer, "Do you think drones will be spraying your crops?" They would have been like, "No, because they don't carry enough. They don't fly fast enough. They're not
Mhm.
reliable." And all of that was wrong because now they are. They are reliable. They do carry 10 and a half gallons. Yes, that's not 100 gallons, but
Yeah.
you just fill it more often. It goes out, comes back, goes out, comes back. And it will absolutely knock out acres. And so I feel the same way with heavy lift drones.
Yeah.
Things will be delivered with these drones for sure on islands right now. Like I think of island ferries and the delivery of those types of things. You can literally tell this drone to fly a mile out, go 2 miles to the left, and then land, and it will
Yeah.
do that. And so the heavy lift drones is really,
Yeah.
I think, so, what we're really going to see. The technology in the ag space, like these drones are only getting better. I mean, they are advancing so fast right now that I'm really excited to see where it's going there.
Yeah. And another thing that is so crucial that's been getting bigger and bigger, but and also I think a lot of people would love is how much better this is a better solution for the environment, right? You hear all these things about gas and all these things, but you know this is running off of electricity, off of batteries.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep, it is running off a battery, but we are using gasoline generators to charge those batteries.
Oh,
But
are you? Okay.
yeah, we are. But those gasoline generators are using a whole lot less fuel than an
Yeah.
airplane or a helicopter would if they're out spraying.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
how you guys charge these things. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
So
pretty impressive.
the generator is built to charge the battery at basically the same rate as it consumes it. So a battery, without a load will last for about 10 minutes, and a
Yeah.
battery will take about 10 minutes to charge.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Technology is absolutely just
Oh
amazing.
yeah, yeah, and it's like I say, it's just gonna continue getting better. Like the current batteries that we run in our spray drones, like this one down there,
Yeah.
um, those batteries are 30,000 milliamp hour batteries, and the latest drone that we just got our hands on is called a fly cart, and that battery now is 38,000 milliamps. So it's 20% better and it's
Yeah.
lighter. So the battery before is 27 pounds, now it's 25 pounds and more
Yeah.
power.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, it's just going to continue getting better.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I know I'm asking so many but there's just like there's just so many questions popping off in my head. You know, when you're in the late season, right? And winter is much harsher up there. What is it like flying, one of these drones? I imagine one, first of all, for thermal, it's phenomenal. But for battery life, for the flight time, because it's so much colder, it's usually windier and everything like that. What are you looking at like in the winter over there?
So I honestly haven't seen a huge degrade in my battery life when it's cold because they have an internal heater. So uh, keep it warm so it's not getting super cold. I would say if something maybe instead of being a 30-minute flight, it might be 25 minutes, but it's not like huge.
Yeah, not nothing crazy at all, and that's
Yeah.
that's a big difference. And yet again, if since it's got a internal heater, I mean that helps so much. I mean, a big problem with batteries that we use nowadays. First of all, we're talking on a much smaller scale and everything like that. But from GoPros to the video cameras to
Yeah.
cell camera batteries, everything like that, you usually see such a difference in battery life. I mean, man,
Yep.
I'm done using GoPro just because
Yep.
in the winter I can't even say a sentence without it shutting off unless I have an external battery pack
Exactly.
charging it at the same time, and it's just not efficient. While this is like, all right, you'd normally think, oh man, this is going to take such a big hit, but the fact that it doesn't, 5 minutes is
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's
It's
nothing.
really not been a huge factor in our operation. Again, I go back to you want to have enough batteries, and that's what we did with our kit that we put together that people can buy now. Is I have enough batteries in my pack, in my kit, to sustain you being able to fly literally all day long if you need to. Of course, you'd have a little like a Honda 2000 generator or something like that charging those packs as you're consuming them. But yeah, you should be able to fly all day long.
Yeah, no. Well, oh my god. That's cool. So before, we're gonna I want to talk a little bit about you and your hunting experience. You said you're out doing a elk hunt right when your company started and everything took off. Let's get in a little bit about you personally hunting.
Yeah. I was on an elk hunt, but that elk hunt I was there to watch. I actually took a old boss that was an Amish guy. He didn't. He needed a way to get to Colorado, and so I was his driver and got to go with him on his elk hunt. Not that I was physically hunting the elk, but I was there. Yeah. I do enjoy hunting, no doubt about that. I just got back from a South Africa trip about a month ago, um, but I'm not like a super big diehard hunter.
Hmm.
I do like hunting, but it's just not like I'm going to lose a lot of sleep over it.
Okay, so you're not like myself or one of the guys that's crazed over it, but you
Yeah,
enjoy it,
probably not.
and it must it that's got to be good though for doing what you're doing. You know, whenever it comes to tracking any type, whether you're a dog tracker or whatever, I just hear there's just never enough time to really get out there and hunt anyway. So if you're like a super crazed person who's
Yeah,
diehard
yeah,
about hunting, it would be this tug at like, oh man, like I really
yeah.
want to go hunt, but my phone's blowing up right now and I
Oh,
got to go out
100%.
and work.
100%.
So you
Yeah,
don't have to deal with that.
and it definitely has happened to people, like including myself. The first season, I was all on my own, trying to do it all on my own. Um, I went hunting that season for 45 minutes. Outside of that, I was looking for deer. But for me, I enjoy it more. Like I literally enjoy it more helping other people recover their bucks than I do going out and get my own big one. And I hear that more and more coming from serious hunters that bought drones from me. And they're like, Mike, I want a thermal drone. I just want to do it for, myself and some buddies. And that's all I want to do. And now later talking with them, they're like, Mike, I like this more than me going hunting, and they have gotten some big deer themselves, and they now enjoy finding
Yeah.
other people's deer. And so, yeah,
That's yeah, no. It's always I think as much as I love hunting myself and obviously I'm crazed for it, but to see the thrill of other people, I like filming people. I like, going to track and everything like that. Listen, it doesn't matter what time if you're calling me, as long as I'm not at work, like for the most part, I'm coming out. I'm like, okay, like I'm coming. Like my
yeah,
friends know,
yeah,
like it's just so it's an amazing feeling. Plus,
yep,
also, I like the fact that I think when you're actually the hunter, it's more nerve wracking, and and you have no choice. But when you're just there to just
yeah,
track or whatever the case is, it's like, all right, I don't
yeah.
have all this pressure on myself, so it is a big difference.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more.
And I'm taking a look at the kit right now that you guys have here. I mean, this is a beautiful, just beautiful machine. So, when someone places an order, you know, where what does that look like? What I mean, there's you can get, the monitors, there's extra you offer a training too,
Yeah.
with that as well. Things like that. So, when someone places an order, what really happens over there at your guys' warehouse and whatnot.
Yeah, well, we'll get the order, and we'll fulfill it. We'll put it all in a box, like so. All the batteries, the landing pad, the spotlight, the whole 9 yards get packed in a box and shipped out to you. Now, the other stuff you referred to, like the training, that is
Mhm.
in-person training that you can buy. It's additional cost, of course, where we do in person. So you guys come out
Yeah,
and you will train with usually it's my team, not necessarily me. I'm not saying I won't be there. There's
yeah,
definitely times I will be there. But yeah, we sell the training, and then the other thing that we started putting on our website is the TV kit. It is a carry case with a TV in it. It has a battery in it. That way you
yeah,
can plug your TV in and plug your controller right into that TV, so your clients can watch that big screen TV instead of looking over your shoulder for instead look for their deer. And
wow,
so we made that easy. I really so when I started it, right, I had to figure out, well, how many batteries do I need of this light and that and this, and it's like I made an easy kit for you. Not You don't have to think about it. Like the only thing you have to do is trust me that I know what I'm talking about when I say I built the drone deer recovery kit, and it has everything you need. And so when I say that, it means it has the controller, it has the controller batteries, two batteries, in fact. That way you can run all day and never lose your battery on your controller. You got 8 flat batteries. You got your charger. You got your landing pad. You got your spotlight. You're like literally everything I use in my videos, I put in there, so it doesn't take any brain work. Just know that if you're watching the content and you want to fly the same thing as I do, like that Tree 30T up there,
yeah.
and you want the same kit, it's going to be in there.
That's I love that because you look at a lot of, and yet again, you when you're looking at drones, and I don't know my drones like that, but I've always been interested in everything like that. When you look at drones, it's like, okay, well, you get the drone, but then you have to buy this
Yeah,
extra,
yeah,
and then this,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you have to do, and it's like, oh my god, and
yeah,
then the
yeah,
price really just this is all in one,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it is great how you guys offer the training too as well, because yet again, you're spending the money on it, so you don't want to just take, and yet again, some people probably just do this, but like for me, looking at it in my eyes, I would be someone who would be very interested in doing the training, especially, I'm going to
yeah,
buy this, I'm going to come out and learn the correct way by the person who, the company that put this all together,
yeah,
instead of just, I'm
yep,
just going to go fly this, and then, what, something bad
yeah,
happens.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that. I mean, I just had so many requests that where people were like, "We appreciate you're selling this kit. It's an easy way to buy it, but we really would love if you'd offer up some training." And we were scaling our company, our team to be able to do that because I just couldn't do it in the beginning. I was too busy. I was out doing calls, and I just couldn't focus on that. And so now we do offer it, and it's
Mhm.
been really good feedback. A lot of people have come from all over the country, coming here and getting their thermal drone training, and then going back and starting their own business for sure. But yeah, the only thing we had a little bit of an issue with the drone deer recovery kit is copycats. Is other drone sellers seeing
Mhm.
how well we were doing with the kit, and so then they tried coming up with their own kit um, that looks like it's cheaper and looks like it has the same things in their kit as I do in mine, but
Yeah.
they won't tell you it's coming with 6 batteries instead of 8, or it's
Yeah.
coming with one controller battery instead of two, or it's not
Mhm.
coming with a laning pad, or whatever it might be. So
Yeah.
there's always things that as things progress, as people start catching on and they want to make some money too, and nothing, against them. I want everybody to make an income, but it's like, okay, guys, like we have to educate. Like now we have
Yeah.
to educate everybody on what is a drone deer recovery kit. Because if you look for a wildlife kit looks like a drone deer recovery kit, but the wildlife kit is like almost $800 cheaper. Why is that? It's because it has 6 batteries instead of 8. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. You're and it's yet again when I say it's, you want to spend, yeah, $800. Listen, you might as well just spend the extra $800 and get what you really need, because you're going to be kicking yourself in the butt later when it's like, oh, like I need that extra battery, I need that
yeah,
extra thing. People always like, well, why do you buy such expensive equipment? Well, honestly, because you know what, I much rather buy that expensive equipment and it not break on me, or something happen, than me kicking myself in the butt later when
yeah.
something fails, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, man, it's the videos are just great. Everything that you're doing is great, and I love
Thank
how
you.
you, like you
Thank
said,
you.
you want everyone to grow. It's not just about yourself. You have your own business, of course, but you created something where, hey, you know what? We'll put this all together for you, and you could go start your very own business and do the
Yep.
same exact stuff as us. Where honestly, not many companies would be doing that,
Yeah.
and but it's a testament to also the person that you are as well. And I definitely love that, and eventually I would love to do something like this at some point. I mean, it does seem so unique, and you know what, the more I hunt and the more I do these things, like I think it's just going to take over. And
Yeah.
once every state hopefully makes it legal, it's something that, why not? I want to, every chance I get to get that deer, to get that bear, or whatever animal that I've shot at.
Yeah. No, it if you fly these drones and you find people's animals that they otherwise would not find, yeah, then that's probably when you become hooked.
Definitely. Um, where you said that you're busy, you're doing a lot of stuff. So how many calls do you think you and your team get during the hunting season?
Hmm. How many calls do we get? I would say in the heat of the season, last year, anywhere conservatively between 30 and probably 50 calls.
That's not bad at all. And
Yeah.
are you able to make all those? What dictates you maybe a prioritize? Is it first come, first serve? How does that kind
Yeah.
of go?
So the most calls I did in one day last year with all the pilots I had at my fingertips, I think it was like 14, 14 or 18 calls, I believe, that I did in uh, one 12 hour. I think it was one 12 hour or 1 24 hour day. It's hard to keep them all straight.
Wow. That's
Yep.
that's a long day. That is a
Yep.
very
Yep.
long day.
Yep.
Um, and anything outside of, I don't there's not really, are there bears in Ohio?
No, not
No.
really. I mean, every
No.
now and then we have a straggler go through, but not really.
Is there any specific animal that you would like to be able to do a recovery for?
I mean, I'd like to find an elk with thermal. It'd be pretty cool. I did get to use my thermal drone in South Africa, and it really helped over there to find kudu that otherwise would have gone to waste because without it, they would have bumped it and it would have went who knows where. But yeah, I would say it's probably an elk.
Elk. Talk about that Africa trip a little bit. What led you over there? How'd that all go and your experience over there?
Yeah. So what started the trip off is a company that is also manufacturing a drone really wants me to carry their drone in America
Mhm.
and invited me over to check out their drone, hoping that I would love it. And in the meantime, they mentioned something about he has a friend that has a hunting ranch and asked if I wanted to go hunting. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And so it was kind of like a two-part. One was to go check out a new drone that they were hoping I would like. And the other was to create thermal content in South Africa, along with heavy lift drone content showing uh, the industry what these drones can do.
Oh wow. And what was there when you were showing them what these drones could do? What was their take on it? What's it? Do they fly? Is this like the first company over there that's doing this drones? Like how big are drones? Over there, and what the use is over there compared to in America? Can you hear me?
We still on?
Yeah, can you hear me? Hold on. Yellow.
Still on? Looks like you hit the mute.
Can you hear me now? Hello. Still can't hear me? Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, so they use their thermal drones for way different types of things than we do here. Um, as far as like recovery goes on game, yeah, you're in and out.
All right, give me 1 second. Let me refresh this, and I'm gonna be right back.
I can hear you in and out.
All right. Um, it should because can you still hear me now? No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Uh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know why that's doing that, but the good thing is the good reason why we moved to StreamYard, if there's any difficulties, it actually it records locally. So I'm being recorded locally, you're being recorded locally. So if there's any type of mess up, it should still be able to everything should still be recording perfectly.
Nice, nice.
So this is really gonna test it. We just moved to this a couple weeks ago, and we haven't had any issues. So this is really going to test it. So hopefully it works perfectly.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, so the last question that you had asked me is how much different is their thermal use over there compared to how we're using them in America? And so they don't really use thermal drones over there to recover lost game because they never really thought that it could work until I was there. Um, I do believe that people in South Africa will be using thermal drones to do the same thing that we do here, which is use thermal drones to recover lost game. But for the most part, they have other applications that they use thermal drones for, but I don't really know what all they are.
Gotcha. And I imagine they'll be able to, you probably, would get a just good enough guess too, and to use it to help fight poachers, maybe,
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So hopefully, it is something that they use that for as well. But,
yeah,
Mike, I guess we'll start wrapping it up. We're almost hitting our time here. I mean, my mind has just I knew that I really wanted to get you on, but I didn't know like it was going to be this much information of like I didn't know how much went into drones, honestly. I'm very new to drones. I've been following the page and everything like that, but I didn't know how complex it really got. And I knew that yes, technology has grown so much, but it's also when you don't see it every day, you don't really know the ins and
yeah,
outs.
yep,
But this right here is like, wow,
oh yeah.
this is next level stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and it's really not slowing down as far as the drone industry. Maybe drone deer, as far as the companies growing and the people getting in, will slow down some, but the technology is not going away, and the technology will only get better. So, the drones that we're using now for drone deer and everybody else that's doing drone deer in their state, the
Hmm.
probably get something that's even better. But the industry as a whole, the drone industry is forecasted to compound grow 30 some percent each year. So there's a lot of drone uh, technology still coming.
Yeah, and one last thing, I will say, and do you know like so I'm big into the military. Like I do a lot of my family friends are in the military, so I'm always like curious about that and their technology. Do you know anything that they have? What type of technology they have compared to no, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We had somebody on who did some work with the military, and they said that you wouldn't even believe the type of
yeah.
technology that they have and everything like that. So I was just curious if you knew anything of what type of drones that that the military has and what's they're
No,
working with.
no, but I'm sure I'd like to get my hands on it. I'd assume that it would be a lot better, but yeah, I don't know.
Gotcha. Well, Mike, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It was definitely a pleasure. I cannot say enough about this. I would definitely eventually like to get you on again. And I have a full team here, and so I can't wait for them to hear this. But to talk to you, I think in person and they're gonna, I imagine, have questions and everything like that
Yeah.
as well. About drones. I actually, one of the guys that we do have on our team, Steve, he currently was unavailable today, but he works for the NFL. So
Okay.
I know he's very big into the technology and like all these things. So I can only imagine he knows all about the filming and the cameras and what is this and this and that. So I'll have to make sure the next time we get you on that he is definitely on, because I guarantee you he has a lot of questions himself.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me for sure.
No problem. And everyone, listen, if you haven't already, go check Drone Deer Recovery. The link is going to be down in the description below. Same as the YouTube channel. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. These videos, I usually watch them when I'm at work, or when a lot of times where the fiance and I are in the bed, I'm like, oh my God, look at this, especially the one where you carry the deer and everything like that. Like I didn't know that they could do that. That thing is giant.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
huge.
Yep. Yeah.
But you're going to be extremely entertained. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I guarantee you, Mike will answer them for you. If you're looking to get into the drone, make sure you reach out. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode.
Yeah. Thanks so much.